On the day of the wedding, my fiancé's first love came back. She brought her family of 3 to our wedding, and during a break in the festivities, she revealed the secret I had been asked to keep all those years ago. She said she came this time because she didn't want to have any regrets about her youth. It was right before the college entrance exams, and she was about to go abroad for treatment on her leg. Tell me not to mention this to Xianli, so as not to distract him from his college entrance exams. After Xianli learned the truth, he thought I was deliberately trying to break them up. Before we walked into the auditorium, he grabbed me by the neck and yelled at me. So all that hustle and bustle, was it just for today? I'm not going to let you have your way. In the scuffle, I was pushed down the stairs. Shards of broken glass pierced the major artery in my neck, and I bled to death. When I woke up again, I found myself back on the day when my true love had asked me to keep a secret. While I was still half asleep, Ji Songning shook me awake. G.E. Mom said she got the plane tickets. She's taking me abroad for treatment tomorrow. I looked up at the wall clock. It was 1:30 a.m. I looked down again at the small bed in front of me. Ever since Ji Songning came to live with us, I'd given her my room. My bed is made by laying a folding chair from home flat on the floor. Mom said I could just make do for a few days. But I ended up making do on that deck chair from my sophomore year all the way through the end of my senior year. I suddenly snapped back to reality. Fate is truly a marvelous thing. The intense pain in my neck and the feeling of panic and suffocation caused by excessive blood loss still seemed to linger in my consciousness. And my breathing suddenly became rapid. Ji Songning seemed upset that I hadn't responded to her right away. He reached out and gave my shoulder a hard pat, saying, "Josie, I'm talking to you, can you hear me?" I snapped back to reality and found myself looking straight into her matter-of-fact gaze. He raised his hand and delivered a hard slap. The sharp sound of a slap rang out, jarring the quiet room. Tomorrow is the first day of the college entrance exam. And she's just so self-centered, she only thinks about herself. In my past life, I was foolish enough to just put up with it. I patiently endured her negative emotions for over an hour before finally finishing my first exam. My head spinning. It was she who asked me to keep her secret about going abroad. She said it didn't matter if it took a little longer, they shouldn't let it interfere with Xianli's college entrance exams. After all, he'd find out eventually anyway. Since she said that, a normal person definitely wouldn't say it. We all thought the matter was over. And after that, she stayed abroad, where she fell in love, got married, and had children. Xianli and I started dating in the 3rd year after she left for the United States. She was the one who pursued me. She even sent me a text message wishing me well before the wedding. As it turned out, she showed up at my wedding, reminiscing about their youth with the man who was about to become my husband. To judge me, the person who once helped her keep her secret for a day, had the flight been cancelled, or had all the world's communication systems failed for the two of them. They didn't end up together in the end, and it's all my fault. Was it me who made Xianli pursue me? Was it me who made them lose touch after they went abroad? Was it me who cut off all their means of communication? Was it me who made Ji Songning go straight from dating to marriage to having a child? After I slapped Ji Songning, she was stunned for just a moment before suddenly flying into a rage. "Josie, are you out of your fucking mind? How dare you hit me?" I stood up and, before she could react, slapped her again. "If I'm going to hit you, I'm going to hit you, though I need to pick a specific day for it." Her leg was badly injured. She could only drag it along and couldn't put any weight on it at all. I quickly pinned him to the ground and beat him up. I've really had enough of this. Ji Songning is my uncle's daughter. Her parents divorced when she was very young. My mom said she felt sorry for her and told me to be more considerate of her. She stayed at our house from the 2nd grade through the end of elementary school. These past 4 years have been a nightmare for me. It was as if I were her personal servant, her 24-hour nanny, even though we're only half a year apart in age. It's my fault that Ji Songning didn't turn in her homework. I was selfish, I only cared about myself and didn't look out for her. Ji Songning got into a fight with a classmate, and her parents were called to school. It's my fault I didn't stop her. It was my fault that Ji Songning stole the money. I told my parents because I was jealous of her. There are countless examples like these. until she graduated from elementary school and her mother took her away. I thought the nightmare was over. As it turned out, she showed up again when I was in high school. Then the nightmare returned. Plus, since my uncle had already passed away by then, my mom became even more doting. She treated Ji Songning like a precious gem. She felt sorry for Ji Sangning. No one was looking out for her, so she wanted to make it up to her and preserve this last thread of their family lineage on her brother's behalf. And they've placed that responsibility squarely on my shoulders. If anything involving Ji Songning comes up again, I'll bear even greater responsibility for her than her guardian does. It's like she's less than 158 tall, yet she insists on pretending to be some kind of biker girl. When I got on it, my feet couldn't even touch the ground. And sure enough, I broke my leg. The doctor said I might be lame for the rest of my life. In the end, my mom thought it was my fault that I hadn't kept a close eye on her. That day, she hit me with a clothes hanger and broke 3 of them. My arm still hurts when I raise it. Damn it. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got, so I kept slapping him across the face. After a few slaps, her face swelled up. That's when my parents finally showed up. Ji Songning's mother couldn't get used to living in our rundown house, so she's staying at a nearby hotel. Ji Songning probably just can't bear to part with me, her 24-hour personal caregiver, even on the last night. He's still acting crazy. My mom yanked me to my feet and shoved me hard. I lost my balance and hit my head right on the cabinet next to me. I reached out to touch it, and my hand was covered in blood. She didn't seem to have expected it to be this serious either. She paused for a moment and said, "Josie, what are you doing? Acting so crazy in the middle of the night." She really is exactly the same as I remember her. No matter what, she'll never take my side. From past lives to the present, all kinds of grievances come flooding in. I completely lost it right then and there. I wiped the blood from my temples with both hands. It smeared all over my face and, frantically tugging at my hair, I screamed, "That's right. I'm crazy. I'm a madman. You drove me crazy. Did I ask you to give birth to me? I've got the college entrance exam tomorrow. For God's sake." And she wakes me up in the middle of the night just to listen to her little love stories, and I'm not even allowed to say no. Am I? What? Is your brother's daughter somehow better than everyone else? Am I just supposed to be her slave and nanny? It's not that I'm inferior, it's that I was born to someone like you that makes me inferior. I was going at it like crazy, leaving my mom completely stunned. She held her beloved niece with both hands. Some of them, not daring to look me in the eye, said, "Mom didn't mean it that way. Ningning is still sick. Why are you picking a fight with her?" Oh my goodness. How could I dare? As a second-class citizen in this household, how could I possibly dare to pick a fight with Mom's precious, beloved niece? I may not be your biological child, but even if I'm not, I still have a conscience, don't I? I'm taking the college entrance exam tomorrow. Could you please show a little kindness? I'm begging all of you. What do you mean? Family? Aren't you part of our family? You sure know how to talk, my mom said, and was about to lash out, but I suddenly took a step back, bowed my head and cowed out as fast as lightning, repeating over and over, "Have a little mercy. I beg you." My mom used to do all of these things for me. Whenever I started complaining that she treated Ji Sanning better than she treated me, she would either beat her chest and burst into tears, calling me an ungrateful wretch, or kneel before me and say, "It's all my fault. I gave birth to you born a lady but destined to be a servant. I can't give you a good life. So please go live with another family." Where can a child under 10 go? I could only stand there dumbfounded, letting her finish her outburst and absorbing all her negative emotions. My dad finally spoke up at that moment. He yanked me to my feet and said, "Josie, it's late at night. How much longer are you going to keep this up?" I looked up at him and suddenly laughed. "Dad, that's great. So you can actually talk. Otherwise, I would have thought my dad had mastered the art of invisibility in this house." My sarcasm left him at a loss for words. He wanted to snap back, but then he glanced at the clock. It was almost 2:00, and in the end, He just took my mom and the others outside, leaving me with the words, "The college entrance exam is tomorrow, so you should get some sleep." I kept a straight face and said nothing. After they left, I slammed the door shut. There's no way I'm going to sleep now. Even if I slept until dawn, I still wouldn't be able to take the exam tomorrow. 7 years had passed since the college entrance exams ended before I was transported here. This is so annoying. Who would want to go back to this time? Can't you just come back after the exam? I'm really amazed. But if I don't do well on the test, those two won't have an easy time of it either. Didn't you say in my last life that I got in the way of the two of you? In this life, I'll go all the way as a good person, so I'll grant you your wish. As for whether Xia Yanli will be able to see it, we'll just have to leave it up to fate. To be honest, my neck is actually starting to hurt right now. If I weren't worried about drawing too much attention, I'd call him right this minute. Tell him to hurry up, his first love is about to leave the country. Otherwise, I'm about to transform into a three-bodied being and use physical and mental magic to thwart their once-in-a-lifetime romance. But late that night, all I did was post a trivial update on my QQ space. This old phone is practically falling apart and it was actually Ji Songning who broke it. My mom had no choice but to give it to me. I saved up my living expenses for a long time to pay for the repairs. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by the crazy old woman as she recounted her epic, tragic love story. She thought she was leaving the country tomorrow, and that once she was abroad, the plane might stop flying and then she wouldn't be able to see the crazy old man anymore. Once I send this, I'll shut down my computer and go to sleep. Maybe I'd never let off steam like that in my past life. After I'd vented, I slept soundly until dawn. I feel so much more relaxed now. When he turned on his phone, he saw that Xia Yanli had been calling non-stop since last night. That's great. I hope he does even worse than I did today. Zhou Zi. What's going on? What happened to Sang Ning? Zhou Zi. You should at least have some basic manners. What was that post you put up all about? Are you really that spiteful, trying to sabotage someone's college entrance exams on purpose? One after another, I am so sick of seeing them. My eyes are about to pop out. The response I received was a call that came through quickly. Zhou Zi. I never knew my name could be uttered with such venom. Why are you calling your dad? Making all these calls in the middle of the night? Didn't your dad teach you any manners? Is that why you're coming after me? Your dad. Zhou Zi. My patience has its limits. Click. I hung up right away. He's really pushing it and now he's saying his patience has limits. Has Xia Yanli always been this crazy? Aside from the fact that he killed me in his past life, being with him feels like I have a criminal record. The phone kept ringing insistently. After thinking it over, I answered the call. Zhou Zi. Where's Sang Ning? Who are you talking to? Do I owe you anything? Why should I care where she is? And why should I tell you? Zhou Zi. I don't know what we did to offend you, but please tell me. Okay. This is really important to me. Beg me. Is that how you beg someone? Why don't you try calling me dad just to see how it sounds? You can't expect me to put up with you bothering me every day like your own father, without even getting to hear you say dad. Can you? Zhou Zi. Holy shit. Are you out of your mind? What? You don't want to? Well, I guess your feelings aren't that deep after all. You won't even call me dad. Looks like we're destined to go our separate ways from now on. Oh well, you're not one of those people who just puts on a show, are you? You don't really love me that much anyway. Why bother pretending to be so deeply in love? The phone was hung up in a fit of rage once again. Arguing first thing in the morning really clears your head. After I finished getting ready, I headed downstairs to grab some noodles before heading to the test center. Thanks to Ji Sanning's antics last night, my dear parents must have felt just a tiny bit guilty. He actually left me some money for breakfast. I still remember that in my past life, I got up feeling dizzy and disoriented and boiled myself an egg for breakfast. Early this morning, my parents went to see Ji Songning off. We had the Chinese exam this morning. Even though I've mostly forgotten most of what I learned in high school, but since it is my native language after all, I can still manage it to some extent. I finished the test quickly and was the first to rush out of the exam room. That's all. For the past few years, the media has almost always interviewed the first student to finish the college entrance exam each year. At the corner of the staircase, I deliberately tore open the cut on my temple to make it bleed more. Then, with one hand pressed against his forehead, he ran toward the exit. I smiled throughout the entire interview. I said I think life is full of hope. Once I go to college, I won't have to get beaten up because of my cousin anymore. The interview quickly went viral online. If I just played the victim, maybe not as many people would pay attention. But by creating a contrast, I can offer hope. A mother whose daughter was disturbed the night before the college entrance exam harmed her own child for the sake of someone else's child. If you go to college, you won't get beaten up anymore. My mom soon became famous because of me. Whenever she returned to the neighborhood, there were always a lot of people pointing and whispering about her. When I went back for lunch, I happened to run into her just as she was furious. Josie, what did you mean by what you told the reporters? What do you mean? What's going on? Mom, your sweet little darling is going abroad. Are you still going to hit me? Josie, have you lost your mind these past couple of days? She raised her hand, as if to strike her, but hesitated and didn't bring it down, because my dad was standing nearby, trying to calm me down. Forget it. She's taking the college entrance exam. Didn't let it get to you. Oh my gosh. So my parents actually knew I was taking the college entrance exam. I thought this whole thing was no big deal. Besides, what could possibly be more important than your little Ning Ning? Josie. My mom immediately slapped me across the face. Hey, I missed. I'm not stupid anymore. Why should I just stand there and let her hit me? I gave her a defiant smile and said, looks like Mom doesn't love Xiao Baoning that much after all. You're not even going abroad to take care of him. Your love has won you. You've got to try harder. Otherwise, if Xiao Baoning's mom and dad get divorced, he'll be so pitiful. Josie, how long are you going to keep this up? Oh, come on. We're just little nobody kids not even allowed to speak the truth. It's not like Lil Ning, whose parents are divorced but still has cheap, second-hand parents falling over themselves to pamper her. Why can't you just be patient? Once Lil Ning is born, you definitely won't want to have a baby. You'll just abort me. That'd be better for me and for all of you. I turned around, sat down in a chair, propped my head up with my hand, and said to them, Josie, haven't you caused enough trouble by now? Where are your manners? My dad was so angry he slammed his fist on the table, while my mom sat beside him, trying to calm down. What's the matter? Now that Xiao Baoning's gone, do you find me even more annoying? Well, I'll just leave then. I got up, opened the door, and was about to go out. My mom ran out after me. She grabbed my arm and shouted at the top of her lungs, Josie, I gave birth to you, and yet I've wronged you, haven't I? Is this how you treat me? I struggled to get away. Her grip was getting tighter and tighter, and she was pinching my arm so hard it really hurt. My head is getting more and more dizzy, probably because of an injury. In a moment of distraction, I lost my balance and she pushed me right over. Roll all the way down the stairs. Images from my past and present flashed through my mind in the blink of an eye. I instinctively reached up to touch my neck. Oh, I've been reborn. This isn't a wedding. The old-style staircases don't have glass either. Then came a violent impact. Only this time, it was my knee that hit the step. A sharp, stinging pain shot through my bones and skin, followed by a numbing ache. My white pants were covered in blood, and I curled up like a shrimp, the excruciating physical pain causing me to cry out involuntarily. My dad came running downstairs in a panic. How are you? How are you doing? I watched them coldly, then suddenly burst out laughing. I'm not dead yet, Mom and Dad. Keep it up. Our noise drew the attention of our neighbors in the hallway. A kind neighbor took me to the hospital. The scene was filled with a cacophony of voices. Some well-meaning people were scolding my parents, while my dad was trying to explain. And then there was the loud slam of the door after my mom got angry. I didn't feel a thing. It was as if my mind had gone completely blank. The blood was flowing more and more from my leg, and my head was spinning. It wasn't until I got to the hospital and the doctor was treating my wound that the pain from the second impact brought me back to my senses. It's not all bad. At least if I skip this exam, I won't have to take the rest either. I don't need to make excuses for myself about why I did so poorly on the college entrance exam this time. And there's even better news. I wasn't the only one who skipped the exam. Xia Yanli didn't even show up for the Chinese exam. He bought a large bouquet of sunflowers mixed with baby's breath to say goodbye to Ji Songning. Then he posted a status update in a pretentious way. You ask me if it's worth it. But to me, you've long been my everything. The accompanying images include photos of flowers, a shot of Ji Sanning's back at the airport, and the symbolic meaning of baby's breath found online. Silent, protective love. Wah. I'm so touched. I was so moved that I even ate an extra chicken drumstick for lunch at the hospital. Oh, man. I was just worried you two didn't love each other enough. Because I was hospitalized due to an injury. I didn't take the remaining exams for the college entrance exam. A reporter who had interviewed me previously learned about this and conducted a follow-up interview with me. With tears streaming down my face, I said to the camera, I don't know why it turned out this way. I really had been preparing for this for so long. This interview is quite long. And it's backed up by testimony from neighbors. My parents have become a huge sensation all over the city. My mom called me, furious, and asked what exactly I wanted. Now, wherever she and my dad go, people point and whisper about them. And my dad was usually so meek even lost his temper with her, which is very rare for him. I smiled and said, I guess I should ask Mom what else she wants. Does she really want to kill me? As I said this, I couldn't help but recall scenes from my past life. She really is out to get me. At that time, she was worried that Ji Songning wouldn't have enough money while abroad, so her family used most of their savings to support her. But to outsiders, our family situation doesn't seem that difficult. I can't even qualify for a financial aid grant. At the very beginning of my freshman year, they still paid my tuition, but later on they made me work part-time to support myself. At that time, she said to me through her tears, "Ge, children from poor families have to grow up fast. This is all we can offer. Please try to understand us." Throughout my 4 years of college, there was hardly a single day when I didn't work. I was constantly rushing back and forth between school and my part-time job. I wore my high school jacket all the way through college, and my roommates couldn't stand it anymore. So they gave me the clothes they weren't wearing. Not a single day went by without me feeling like a mess. While my peers were brimming with youthful energy and radiating sunshine, I felt like a stinking rat in a sewer, terrified that others would see how miserable I was. Meanwhile, what was Ji Sanning up to? At 19, she used the money my parents gave her to travel from New York to Philadelphia. When I saw that post on Moments, I flew into a rage and went to argue with my mom, but she scolded me in an incredulous tone. Ningning's legs are already in that condition. Don't you know she's in a bad place emotionally that she cut her arm with a knife in the middle of the night and ended up in the emergency room? Do you really have to compare yourself to her? Is death really such a terrible thing? I've wanted to die for a long time now. If I wanted to die, I wouldn't just cut myself a wound that would heal even if I waited too long. I'd be dead for a long time before you even knew it. Josie, it's your mom. How could you scare me like this? What am I supposed to do now? She sobbed uncontrollably on the other end of the line. Her tears were like a swamp that swallowed me whole, dragging me down bit by bit to rot alongside her. Children naturally love their parents, and back then, I was always tamed by her method of alternating a slap with a sweet treat. Just like that day when I threw a tantrum, she sent me a 200 yuan red envelope, which was completely out of character for her. But along with the red envelope came a long voice message. My knees have been hurting lately, and my lungs feel a little tight. Too, I haven't even dared to see a doctor. She directed all the manipulative tactics she'd honed over her lifetime toward me, while reserving all her kindness and thoughtfulness for her own family. Of course, I didn't accept that red envelope. In fact, even when I was a student, I used the money from my scholarships and part-time jobs to help support them a little. When did I start to come to my senses? Ji Songning is like a bottomless pit. She seems to need the sacrifices others make for her in order to feel her own worth. And they've come to take it for granted. She developed a drinking problem while in the United States, the year I graduated. She was diagnosed with uremia and needed a kidney transplant. My mom didn't hesitate to tell me to get tested for a match. She spoke in a light, airy tone. You can live with just one kidney. Your blood relative's mom is begging you. In that split second, I came to my senses completely. She doesn't love herself. And she certainly doesn't love me. I will never let her use my life as if it were an object. That was the first time I started turning her down. She hurled all sorts of harsh insults at me. She cursed me, asking why it wasn't someone like me who got sick. I came to my full senses amid her repeated attacks. It wasn't me who made her have me. To me, she is not a favor. I owe nothing to anyone. If no one treats me well, I'll treat myself well. I want to live for myself. I must live for myself. Perhaps because I've been reborn. My dad has started to change a bit compared to my previous life. But I don't need it. He dragged my mom to the hospital a few times. But I sent him away every time. As soon as he arrived, I went crazy and started making a huge scene. Haven't you caused me enough trouble already? Now you've ruined my college entrance exams. Are you satisfied? They don't like it when I bring this up. So I'm going to bring it up anyway. Josie, I'm your mom. Are you going to blame me? That same line again, it's always the same one. In my previous life, I didn't donate a kidney, so they sold their house just to raise more money for Ji-sungning. Then, penniless, she came to me and said, Josie, it's okay. You go on living your good life. You're just not meant for that. I couldn't take it anymore. In a fit of rage, I laughed bitterly and said, how could I ever blame mom? My mom is the best mom in the whole world. Let me experience this one faking life as a slave. My mom is the kindest mom under the sun. Mom, I'm afraid my life won't be long enough for you to keep messing with me while you're still young. You'd better hurry up and have a few more kids, otherwise Xiao Baoning will be so pitiful without a nanny or a slave in the future. Josie. She raised her hand to hit me. I covered my mouth and watched her, still smiling as I said, what's wrong, Mom? Did I hit the nail on the head? Oh, so you deliberately sabotaged my college entrance exams because you were afraid I'd spend money on my education, or that I wouldn't be easy for you to control in the future, that I wouldn't be your slave anymore, right? My goodness, Mom, you really went to such great lengths. I'm truly moved by your love for Xiao Baoning every single moment. Heaven, open your eyes. Why won't you let Mom and Xiao Baoning be biological mother and daughter? The slap didn't land me. Dad stopped it just in time. Wow. Even my dad stops me now. The world has really changed. I was standing there laughing so hard my stomach hurt. After finally catching her breath, she continued, go ahead, Mom. I know I mentioned Xiao Baoning again. IV touched a raw nerve. Josie, what have I ever done to you? Did I give birth to you and still owe you something? How could Mom ever owe me anything? It's me who owes Mom. It's my fault. I shouldn't have strangled myself to death in Mom's womb. I was so inconsiderate. How dare I be born from Mom's womb and cause her little Baoning to suffer? But Mom, I've even sacrificed my college entrance exam for the noble little Baoning. And I've served as her slave and nanny for so many years. Isn't that enough? Little Baoning is so noble. How could a slave like me possibly serve her properly? Let me give Mom a suggestion. Having children is a business. So we need to expand and grow it. Have a few more kids that way. When it comes time to collect debts, we'll have a few more sources of income. And little Baoning will be even happier. Gee, enough is enough. Neither your mom nor I wanted things to turn out this way. What do you hope to gain by constantly attacking your mom like this? Dad, you're speaking up way too late. You should have scolded me sooner. As a son-in-law who lives off the family, you need to accept your place. Your own children are slaves to the old G family. The money you earn and your very person belong to the old G family. Snap out of it now and start helping the old G family produce more slaves and maids as soon as possible. Just remember to be careful and have any sons. Sons aren't as eas. Why to control as daughters. In short, you really need to start feeling a sense of crisis. If you keep this up, what will you do when they kick you out of the house? I'm really worried. Forget it. We're not going to talk to you anymore. You've gone completely off the rails. Haha. Just like that. He's gone. Sigh. It seems mom and dad aren't so scary after all. So what exactly was I afraid of in my past life? That's why I've been hesitating to take that first step. It takes 100 days to recover from a serious injury. After spending a week in the hospital, I limped out of the hospital. I took a trip back to our family's old home in the countryside, where 12,000 is hidden inside the mud bricks. My grandmother gave it to me before she died. She was very far-sighted and worried that I wouldn't have an easy time of it after she was gone. The little old lady really loved me. She would take a long bus ride just to come see me at home. And she was even afraid that Sanning would pick on me, so she'd give her pocket money to win her over. I pried open the mud bricks under the bed and pulled out the money, which was wrapped in layer upon layer of handkerchiefs. Tears welled up in her eyes. Oh! Why couldn't I have been reborn sooner? She hasn't had a chance to enjoy the good life I provide yet. In my previous life, I also relied on this money to get by. I used it to buy goods and set up a street stall while I was in college. But it was only enough to keep me from going hungry. I wanted to open an online store, but I was afraid of losing my entire investment, then I wouldn't be able to survive. This time around, it's not as complicated. After all, since I've been reborn, there's still a bit of an information gap. I know a thing or two about stocks, and I remember most of the stocks that have skyrocketed over the years. I took my ID card to the bank to open a bank account, and then bought a decent used cell phone online. By the time I started my second year of high school, that amount had grown to over 270,000. I suddenly felt more confident. That's great. Money gives people the courage to be bold. At that point, my moment and effort to make me back down hadn't given me a single penny for 2 whole months. I was happy to be on my own, so I went straight back to my grandmother's old house to live. My dad came back from a business trip and asked me how I'd been getting by lately. What? Are you curious as to why I'm not dead yet? Dear Dad. Could you please not be so harsh? Dad doesn't know. Oh my. Dad would never know if I really starved to death and the grass on my grave grew 3 meters tall. He might even end up crying at the wrong grave. Never mind. I don't want to argue with you about this. What are you planning to do next? Retaking the exam will cost money. 2. Stop fighting with your mom. As he said this, he reached for his wallet to give me the money, but I quickly jumped back a good distance. Hey. Don't even think about it. I haven't taken it yet. You guys are even worse than loan sharks if I end up having to pay with my life. I wouldn't dare take it. Besides, this is Xiao Baoning's money. I wouldn't even dare to look at it. Josie, how long are you going to keep this up? Without any money, how have you been getting by all this time? Is this the first time you've thought to ask me how I'm getting by? Don't you know, the whole city knows by now that I'm worse off than an orphan, and orphans even get a 1,200 monthly government subsidy. Everyone feels sorry for me. Every day I go out with a bowl, and people take pity on me and give me food. The more I talked, the more his expression darkened, and by the end, there was even a hint of guilt in his eyes. Too bad he don't need it. Haha. Changing the subject, I continued with a sarcastic tone. Hey, you know what, Dad? This turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Hurry up and have a few more kids with Mom for the G family. Now that everyone knows you two are producing slaves for the G family. When those slaves go out in the future to play the victim and win sympathy, you won't even have to give them leftovers. It's a deal where you make a fortune for every dollar you put in. Xiao Baoning is going to be so happy he'll die. My dad couldn't stand listening to it anymore. So he left 2,000 yuan behind and fled in a panic. Hee hee. Like I care. I went to the post office the very next day and mailed it to his workplace. There's a heartwarming note on it. The best dad in the whole world. I don't know why Dad suddenly changed. It's got me worried that my wonderful dad might be possessed. He actually wants to be a father. But Dad, you need to understand your place. Do you even have the right to spend your own money? Do you really need to care about your child? You're not just any Monyeria Tough-as-Nails son-in-law. You've brought a slave into the world, not a child you intend to cherish. If you dare to tip the slave a whopping 2,000 yuan today, will you dare to stop serving the G family tomorrow? When that happens, if your precious little Bowning resents you, are you going to blame me again? I told you it was true that people brought me meals once I got back to the village. Pretty much everyone knew about my situation. And so many people invited me over for dinner. It was quite moving. It was as if I, a rotting corpse, had suddenly been bathed in sunlight. And it felt so warm. It's as if I've gone back to the time before I went crazy. But I don't need to rely on others for food before she died. Grandma stashed 3,000 jin of grain for me in the barn. She was really worried I'd go hungry. Even before she passed away, she held my dad's hand tightly and told him not to sell any of that grain. My dad agreed, and she glanced at me before closing her eyes. Not long after that, my mom said that millet would go bad if left sitting for too long and wouldn't be worth anything. Together with Dad, we sold over 1,000 jin. It wasn't until my dad started having recurring nightmares in which Grandma confronted him that he finally didn't dare to sell it. They never returned to the old house after that. Only I came back every winter and summer break to clean it. I didn't want to see the old house fall into disrepair. I always felt that keeping it spotless was like having Grandma still there. The grain in the barn has been there for over 3 years. And it's been over 3 years since Grandma passed away. I took a basket to the village threshing floor to have the grain threshed into rice. Then went home and steamed some rice. The Chinese chives Grandma grew on the back hill are still thriving. So I used them along with some eggs a woman from the village gave me to make a stir-fry with Chinese chives and eggs. I set out a portion of rice in front of Grandma's portrait, just as if she were still eating with me. Grandma, why couldn't I have come back a little earlier? Grandma also planted 7 peach trees in the yard. They used to bear very little fruit, but this year they're bearing an unusually good crop. One tree bore 200 or 300 jin of peaches. My daily routine was to go to the market in the morning to sell peaches, and then spend the afternoon at the old house eating and reading. I'll check the stock prices tonight. After my dad found out about the peaches, he came to see me once and praised me, saying, Dad knows you've grown up and that you're earning your own money. So you don't want Dad's money. Oh, your mom cares about you a lot, too. Are you getting all emotional again? My dear Dad, do you know why the peach tree suddenly has so many peaches this year? Grandma said you've been so good to me, so the peach tree is bearing extra fruit to reward you. I looked at him with a smile and said, the afternoon sky was a frightening shade of yellowish-brown, with the shadows of the trees dancing in the breeze, and the cries of unidentified birds echoing in the distance. He glanced at the old house in panic, said, Dad, I have something to do, and left. Are you afraid of ghosts? I'm not afraid. I'd really love to meet him. Otherwise, it's too lonely being alone in this world. The new semester started soon after, and my situation was a bit unusual. Although I didn't take the college entrance exam, my scores on the previous diagnostic tests and past final exams were pretty good. A teacher from the school reached out to me on their own initiative, offering to waive my tuition and provide a stipend to cover my living expenses. I declined and asked the teacher to give it to someone who needed it. They asked me how I was getting by, so I made up a story and said I'd bought a scratch-off ticket and won 100,000. Since we're talking about stocks, I'm sure there will be a lot more to explain. The teacher was very touched by what I did and asked me to keep my winning a secret, since she probably already knew about what had happened during the college entrance exams. In the end, the tuition was waived, and the living expenses grant was given to another student from a low-income family. Right at the start of the school year, I saw Xia Yanli in my new class. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their animosity flares up even more. He walked straight toward me, tapped my desk, and said, Come outside. I need to talk to you. Why should I? Just because you tell me to go out. I have to. I rolled my eyes at him. Fine. If you want to say that herein you're not afraid of losing face, you're a girl yourself. Don't you feel a twinge of guilt for ruining another girl's reputation? Why should I feel guilty? Just for telling the truth. The people who've taken over what's rightfully ours don't feel guilty. The people who disturb students studying for the college entrance exam in the middle of the night don't feel guilty. The shameless people who take every advantage they can don't feel guilty, so why should we normal people feel guilty? What bad luck to be in the same class as someone like you. The speaker was my desk mate, Chin Shi, a cute little girl. She probably wasn't very good at arguing, because after saying all that, her face turned bright red. Xia Yanli used to be known as a good-looking, polite, and academically gifted student. No one had ever mocked him like this before. He was momentarily speechless from the retort and kicked over the desk next to him. He turned and strode away. Just as I reached the door, the owner of the desk came back from the restroom and shouted, "Who's so inconsiderate as to knock over someone's desk and not even pick it up?" Xia Yanli hesitated for a moment. He didn't know whether to help her up or not, so he quickly left. Chin Shi and I went to help pick up the books, and Chin Shi couldn't help but say, "Whoever runs the fastest, that's the one." During that year I spent retaking the college entrance exam. My life was actually pretty ordinary. I didn't draw much attention to myself, perhaps because I'm cautious by nature. I was afraid that if I flaunted my wealth, I'd attract the wrong kind of people, and since I was all alone, I had no way to defend myself. So at one point, my classmates even thought I was poor. When class was over, everyone even gave me snacks. Those willing to repeat a year are generally children from ordinary families. For them, the college entrance exam is a very important and in some cases, the only path forward. By the end of the first semester, my returns from stocks alone had already exceeded 1 million. There is also a key milestone at this point. The World Cup has started. In my previous life, I overheard many boys in my class discussing it among themselves, and my dad would also buy some sports lottery tickets. I only remember 2 or 3 specific scores, but I remember the outcomes very clearly. This year's champion and runner-up were Germany and Argentina, while the Netherlands and Brazil took 3rd and 4th place. There's another reason why I remember it so clearly. I was so busy in the days that followed that I never paid attention to the other sessions again. Whenever something makes a strong impression on me, I go on a shopping spree. Before long, that little over 1 million had snowballed into over 10 million. And because I was afraid of drawing attention, I would sometimes take a taxi to other districts to make purchases. I didn't tell anyone about this money, to be honest. When it hit my account, my hands were shaking. I'd never seen that much money in my entire life. Not in this life or the last. With money, many things become much easier. For my high school coursework, I specifically hired renowned tutors for private lessons. And for some classes, I studied alongside my classmates. Let me tell you, it was sponsored by some kind-hearted people. Of course, for the sake of his pride, Xia Yanli wouldn't attend class with us. Plus, he seems to be very busy every day. I only found out when a classmate told me that he's now working a part-time job every day. I want to save up money so I can go see Ji Songning during winter break. No matter how intelligent a person may be, if they do not cherish their talents, heaven will take them back. He went from being in the top 10 in his grade to slipping all the way to outside the top 100. Winter break will be here soon, and once we subtract the time spent on makeup classes, we'll only have about 10 days off. Of course, Xia Yanli didn't go to see Ching Jisangi's family was already very upset with him for giving up on the college entrance exam last time. Of course, there's no way I'd give him extra money just so he could pursue a romance. As for the money he earned from his part-time job, he mostly either sent it to Ji Songning out of concern that she might not be doing well, or used it to buy her gifts as surprises. I've been living beyond my means for a long time, so naturally I haven't been able to save up for a plane ticket. During the winter break, some of our former classmates came back. Everyone also got together for a class reunion. While I was singing at a KTV, a classmate I hadn't really interacted with before suddenly slipped a card into my hand. I froze in my tracks. Sika had given me Qing Yanchuan, the top student in our grade. As far as I can remember, I've only spoken to him a few times. Plus, it seems like he and Xia Yanli are good friends. They re always together. I smiled politely and said, "Thank you for your kindness. but I'm not that strapped for cash. I don't want to get involved in this. In my past life, I actually cared quite a bit at first about Xia Yanli and Ji Songning getting together. At first, I never imagined I'd end up with him, but I did have feelings for him. When I was in high school, I had very little spending money. My mom had calculated exactly how much I was allowed to spend, and the money I had at school was only enough for vegetarian meals. Sometimes, when I didn't bring enough sanitary pads from home during my period, I wouldn't even have enough left for a vegetarian meal after swiping my meal card. Back then, I was really hungry and really craving food. I'd even sneak into restaurants to wash dishes just to get a few extra bites of meat. A meal with meat and oil, and I'd get paid 10 yuan an hour. I wouldn't dare touch the money grandma left me. It is easy to go from frugality to luxury, but hard to go from luxury to frugality. I'm afraid I'll use it all up without even realizing it. I absolutely have to go to college. What if they don't pay my tuition? So I just put up with it until one day I suddenly realized that it seemed like a few hundred yuan would mysteriously appear on my meal card every month. At first, I thought it was one of those financial aid programs the school offers to help preserve our self-respect. So I told myself I had to study even harder. That money really made my life a lot easier. Until one day, when I got back to the classroom early, I saw Xia Yanli stealing my meal card from my desk. I was so angry at the time. I thought to myself, I'm already so poor, doesn't he have any conscience? I had originally planned to secretly follow him so I could catch him in the act. As it turned out, I saw him load 500 yuan onto that meal card. It's hard to describe how I felt at that moment. I just stood there, completely stunned. In my life so far, apart from my grandmother, I never thought anyone would treat me this way. Those feelings just grew without me even realizing it. When I later found out about him and Ji Songning, I actually felt a little sad. But because of this, I've become more and more tolerant of him. I serve as the messenger between them. He asked me to take good care of Ji Sanning, and I did everything I could to help. When Ji Sanning was sick, I made porridge for her, did her laundry, and helped her with her homework. Even my mom praised me for doing a good job, and that was when I was at my lowest. For a while, I even wished he hadn't transferred that money, so I wouldn't have to bear such moral pressure. I always feel like I should repay him. After he and Ji Sanning parted ways, he was utterly despondent. He was always so drunk he couldn't remember a thing. But after I started my part-time job, I would take him home late at night and do everything I could to encourage and help him. After I was reborn, I wanted to put an end to this karmic debt, so I gave him 10,000 yuan. He was a little taken aback at first, so I just got right to the point about the meal card. He remained silent and said nothing, but he didn't accept the money either. Later, after he started dating Ji Sanning, his financial situation grew increasingly dire. So I waited for the right moment and handed him that sum of money. He clenched his fist and finally said, "Consider this a loan, I'll pay you back later. There's no future, this person will have nothing to do with me from now on." She knew about the meal card, but she had always suspected that the money might not have belonged to Xia Yanli. I think that if it weren't the case, he wouldn't have kept quiet about it. Shi was standing right next to Qing Yanchuan when he handed over the card. She said loudly on purpose, "Hey, RE doesn't need that. Hey, last time, Xia Yanli secretly transferred money to her account, and when she found out, she paid him back many times over." "What? That money isn't his?" Yanchuan asked him to top up his meal card. A boy standing next to Qing Yanchuan immediately piped up. No sooner had he finished speaking than Xia Yanli returned from the restroom. When he heard those words, he stammered, "I never said that money was a gift from me. As for the money you gave me, I told you it was a loan. Then why didn't you just say it wasn't yours?" She retorted. Xia Yanli stood there, his face flushed, not knowing what to do. Noticing the strange looks from everyone in the private room, he started to walk away, but then turned back and said to me, "Zhou Ziyi, I'll give it to you tomorrow." I didn't look at him. I kept my head down and peeled the tangerine, sharing it with Qinzi, half for each of us. Xia Yanli couldn't stand it any longer and fled in disarray. Suddenly, a slender hand held out a tissue. I looked up at the owner of the hand. In the light, his eyes were like stars in the sky. I held up the orange, not knowing what to say for a moment. He reached out, took half the orange, and said, "Thank you." She gave me a sly look and said, "Humph, you're the kind of guy who'd choose a girl over a friend." No, that's not it. The more he explained, the more confusing it got. It was like trying to hide the fact that there were 300 taels of silver here. Qing Yinchuan's eyes and brows lit up, and he couldn't help but smile. This was the first time I'd ever seen him smile so happily. After the class reunion, he walked me back to my hoteliers. I wasn't living at home anymore. During previous school breaks, I always stayed at my grandmother's old house in the countryside. But this time I came specifically to attend the class reunion. We chatted off and on along the way. He said he was sorry he hadn't been able to help me during the college entrance exams and didn't know how to help. But the only thing he felt he could do was give me money. Actually, he had been giving Xia Yanli over 1,000 every month so that he could give it to me. It was only because Xia Yanli told him that I didn't need it anymore without explaining why that he came to ask me in person. Why? Qing Yinchuan, as far as I remember, you're not exactly rolling in money, you. Zhou Zi, you're so smart, didn't you know why? The cool night breeze ruffled the hem of my skirt, and I kept my head down, not daring to look into his eyes again. All of a sudden, a denim jacket was draped over my shoulders. Zhou Zi, hang in there. I'll be waiting for you at Tsinghua University. Huh, no way. Is this guy trying to be dryly funny? I furrowed my brow. He reached out toward my face, but just as his hand was about to touch me, he pulled it back. In the light of the street lamp, I saw that his ears had turned bright red. I remember that Qing Yinchuan wasn't very well off. I've seen him give private lessons to make money before. It made me feel a little embarrassed, because I'd asked him for help with my homework a few times. These were all the fruits of someone else's labor, but it didn't seem quite right to just give him money. So when the peaches on the old tree ripened, I picked a big bagful for him. We sit next to each other in class, so it's only natural that we'd ask each other questions. So every year I send him a big bag of peaches. He seems a bit cold, so I don't dare bother him too much. I just didn't expect it. Oh well, never mind. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I've got to get back to studying hard to prepare for the college entrance exam. After spending the night at the hotel, when I went downstairs, Qing Yinchuan had actually already ordered breakfast for me. He had already returned to his school apparently. He still had a lot of work to do. Just as you'd expect from a top student so busy already in freshman year, breakfast was all my favorites. Dry tossed red oil wontons, black soy milk, and soup dumplings. I think I should keep a calm and composed heart. Love is precious, but life is even more valuable, especially since I'm sort of a rich woman now. Ugh. I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'm not going to think about it anymore. After breakfast, I went back to the old house. I received a package this afternoon. I rode my bike into town to pick it up. It was a sack full of books and notes, all neatly organized by category. As I read, I couldn't help but marvel at how Qing Yinchuan's notes were so neatly written they looked just like a printed book. They could practically be sold as the top scholar's notes. While I was studying, I also got a phone call. It was Xia Yanli who made the call. He asked me to meet him and said he wanted to give me the money, not wanting to ruin his mood. I sent him my card number. There was no need for us to meet in person. Back when I was in school, I had no choice. Maybe the heavens just got the message. When school started, Xia Yanli didn't show up. Just as expected, it turned out that he had intended to use that money to buy a plane ticket to see Ji Songning. Ji Songning didn't wait for him, suspecting he was having an affair. She slit her wrists in a suicide attempt. Reportedly, her hands were soaking in the bathtub, and after being taken to the hospital, she was admitted directly to the ICU. Xia Yanli went on a hunger strike at his parents' house for 3 days, and in the end, with no other option, his parents took him to see Ji Songning. How fun! How fun! It's even more exciting than watching those soap operas at 8 p.m. Ji Songning's suicide didn't leave me completely unaffected. Because my mom came after me again. She called me that evening and said, "Ningning committed suicide. Didn't you know?" "I know." "So what did you do?" "I bought firecrackers and fireworks." "Zhou Zi, are you even human?" "I don't know. It depends on whether you're human or not. After all, you gave birth to me." There was a deep gasp on the other end of the line. I quickly tried to reassure her. "Mom, don't be mad. I bought the fireworks and firecrackers for your own good. For me." "Listen." While I was on the phone, I placed a bouquet by the riverbank next to our apartment complex. A loud bang came from the other end of the line. Then she continued. "Xiao Baoning is in the ICU. What are you doing right now? Why aren't you rushing over to take care of her? How can you live with yourself, even if you can't make it there? You'd better hurry up and have a second child. I'm already having a hard time keeping it under control. You'd better hurry up and make another one. You're not even putting any effort into your work. And you actually dare to rest at a time like this. Does Xiao Baoning have enough money to get by?" "Mom, I'm so disappointed in you. If it weren't to cheer you on, do you think I'd have bought these fireworks?" The caller hung up on me. I'm speechless. There are still so many heartfelt things I haven't said yet. More than a month after the start of the school year, Xia Yanli finally came to school. It's just that the story about him and Ji Songning had spread so widely that a boy tried to strike up a conversation with him at lunchtime, and his mom saw it. She immediately lashed out at him, saying, "I'm telling you, stay away from him. If you end up like him, I'll take you with me to your death." Fearing his mother might say something even more extreme, the boy quickly took her by the hand and led her to the cafeteria. Maybe Ji Sanning is really short on money over there. Xia Yanli has been skipping class more and more often, just to save up money to send to her. His parents reluctantly gave him money a few times, but since they were just an ordinary family, they simply couldn't afford to keep doing so. I guess I'll just have to let him do as he pleases. Before long, it will be time to take the college entrance exam again. I'm not really the type to get anxious or worried. In any case, the outcome of this exam won't have a major impact on my life. To my surprise, my mom actually bought me a dress and even brought me some food. Of course I wouldn't dare eat it. She just said I was very sensible and capable, and that she felt very reassured by me. It's not that she doesn't care about me. She just really can't do anything about it. I told her I understood and tried to comfort her. "It's okay, you'll get used to it. Just use me as a test case for now. Once mom has given birth to more slaves, she'll become even more numb to it. Mom is a superpowered mom. The children she gives birth to can grow on their own like the wind. They don't need to be raised. And when they grow up, they'll be good slaves. Little Baoning's good fortune is yet to come." I had provoked her to the point where she wanted to curse but couldn't bring herself to do so. As she watched the stream of test takers coming and going, in the end, she just said, "You'll understand when you're older. Once you're done with your exams, there's something I need to talk to you about." Wow. I'm curious again and again and again. What kind of outrageous, bizarre thing could have made my mom put up with such humiliation today? The 3-day exam period was over before we knew it. I've also hired a female bodyguard recently. I really don't want to have another accident and have to go back to high school. As soon as I stepped out of the exam room, a tall, attractive young woman handed me a bag. Inside is a long dress from D and a gold bracelet. Because the day the college entrance exams ended was Qinshi's mother's birthday. Since Qinshi's mom is such a great cook, she made 2 meals every day during the last semester, one for me and one for Qinshi. I gave her some money, but she wouldn't take it. I had no choice but to buy 2 stocks with Qinshi. Of course, to keep her from getting too carried away, I made up all sorts of excuses like saying I'd dreamed about it, or that I'd had the same dream 2 years in a row, all kinds of nonsense. After all, I couldn't exactly tell her I'd been reborn. It's her mom's birthday today, so of course I have to do something to celebrate. As soon as my mom saw the bag I was carrying, she reached out to take it and said, "You've finally grown up. Mom doesn't blame you for what happened before. I'm not buying this for mom. I'm not Xiao Baining. How could I possibly find something mom would like? This is a birthday present for my classmate's mom. You bought something for your classmate's mom but didn't buy me anything. Did you even do anything for my birthday last year? Last year. Back then. I hadn't been reborn yet. So where would I have gotten the money? Besides, it's not like I've never bought her anything before. When I was in elementary school, I saved up my money to buy her a bouquet of flowers. She slapped me so hard that my nose started bleeding. And she said I'd stolen the money to buy it. In the end, it turned out to be the pocket money I'd saved up. And they didn't even offer a single apology. When I was in 9th grade, I worked a part-time job to buy her a birthday cake, but she just threw it on the floor and yelled at me, asking what the point of buying it was. They criticized me for only knowing how to waste money, since Ji Songning wouldn't have been able to get into high school at that time. Paying the school selection fee was a foregone conclusion. Even though she wasn't living with us at the time, she kept a close eye on her. I remember that after she stormed off, I used a spoon to scoop up the noodles and eat them. That was the first time in my life I'd ever eaten birthday cake. Grandma doesn't understand these things. And I feel bad asking her for them. She always buys me those little cakes sold by the Jean. I felt a little regretful at the time. I should have bought one for Grandma. It seems she's never had a birthday cake before. But Grandma didn't get to see my birthday cake. She passed away before my birthday. As I looked at my mother, who was glaring at me, my emotions settled once again, and I said, "Mom, you have Xiao Baoning. Why are you buying this for a classmate's mom? Mom, you might not know this, but someone like Myun loved by both parents is the one who craves love the most. I see people on the street and just want to call them mom and dad." It seemed like the tension between us was suddenly on the rise again. Her hand went up again. I quickly hid behind my bodyguard and said, "Oh, look, mom's going to take it out on me again because of Xiao Baoning. That's why I'm so desperate for a mom. My classmate's mom is so nice. She never hits me or yells at me, and she even cooks for me every day. I never thought I'd meet such a wonderful mom in my whole life." "Who is she?" "The bodyguard I hired. You. Where did you get the money?" "My new parents gave it to me. It's all just a load of nonsense." "Zhou Zi, do you really have to be this wary of me? I'm your own mother. I'll be careful. If I can prove I'm not your biological child, I'll have you sent to prison on charges of intentional assault." You. She wants to hit me but can't. And she wants to yell at me but can't stand my snarky remarks. She took several deep breaths, and finally said imploringly, "I was in the wrong before. But I'll change from now on. I'll pay for your college tuition and living expenses. But can I ask you for one favor?" "What's up?" "Ningning has uremia and needs a kidney. Please have mercy on mom. Will you come with me to get tested for a match? This is the only thing mom has ever asked of you in her entire life." Ji Songning is moving so fast. Oh my god. How could this happen? If something happens to Xiao Baoning, what will you do? "Mom, you won't be able to work as a maid anymore." "Zhou Zi, are you really going to throw a tantrum at a time like this? Are you going to argue with her? I'll ask you just one thing. Are you going to help me or not?" "Of course. I knew it. I'm not helping." "Well then, from now on, just pretend I'm not your mother." "Sure. I might as well not have given birth to you." "That's right. Just say I'm unlucky. I've had a rough life." "That's right. You beast. You beast. May you die a horrible death. Heaven will surely punish you." With a straight face, I took out my phone and started recording a video. Then said with a grin, "Mom sure knows how to curse. Looks like she wants to be famous just like last year, only this time I'm going to post photos of Xiao Baoning. I'll even share them with the Chinese community in the U.S. Oh my. I wonder if Xiao Baoning would actually die this time if he tried to kill himself again because of his kidney failure. She reached out to grab my phone, but my bodyguard stopped me. I looked her straight in the eye without a hint of fear and said, "The fact that mom isn't picking a fight with me is the greatest blessing for your little Baoning. If I were mom, I'd either work hard to earn more money so little Bounning could enjoy a better life, or I'd pray to the Bodhisattva more often and try for a second child so little Bounning could be a real child. That way, you could renew your karmic bond. Why bother causing trouble for me, a slave who's already defected? Those words really set her off. And she raised the milk tea she'd bought for me, ready to throw it at me. I held my phone and smiled at her. In the end, her hand paused in midair, and then she turned and walked away without a second thought. As soon as the college entrance exam results were released, Qing Yanchuan called. How did you do on the test? Zhou Zi. Sorry about that. I didn't get into Tsinghua University, I got into Beijing. Peking University. Peking University's not bad. It's not far from Meth. Voice on the other end of the line sounded unexpectedly excited. I even wondered if I'd misheard him. After all, Qing Yanchuan rarely showed any emotional inflection when he spoke. Back when we were in school, I'd even suspected he might be an AI. To avoid making both of us feel awkward, I quickly interrupted him and said, I got into a university in Beijing. It's okay. It's okay. It's great that you're coming to Beijing. Since we're in the same city, we'll have plenty of chances to meet up. Whoa. I didn't know even a genius could let their imagination run wild like that. I'm going to the capital to make money. Of course. If you don't invest in a company or buy a house now, when will you? However, it's not a good idea to say it outright. Let's just call it a beautiful misunderstanding. But even though I didn't get into Peking University, Qin she did. Hee hee. That's great news. 2. Entrepreneurs and scientists who will charge into the future armed with wealth. This year, my total income has reached 20 million. But Qin she didn't seem very happy. She was puzzled after all. My grades had been so good before I repeated the year. So why were my results so poor on the subsequent exams? She even went so far as to suspect that I might have hit my head when I rolled down the stairs. I was beaming as I looked at my report card, but she reached out and placed her hand on my shoulder, saying with a serious expression, You shouldn't have gotten this score. There are students who retake the exam a second time and do better. Why don't you try a little harder? That way, we can go to Peking University together. I told her I was very touched, and then turned her down. That's hilarious. It might be even worse next time. I don't have anything right now, but I'm very self-aware. With a score like this, I guess it was my grandma who really pulled her weight down there. Just thinking about grandma makes my heart ache a little again. I quickly had someone arrange a lavish tomb for her and burned 20 jean of joss paper in her honor. Before, I was afraid others would find out about my financial situation, so I only dared to burn paper money for her in private. Now that I have bodyguards, I do feel a little safer. The villagers were very friendly. They gave me a bunch of fruits and asked where the money came from. I told them it was a reward from the school for doing well on my exams. And I also introduced my bodyguard as a teacher. The main idea is that when you're out in the world, you define your own identity. On the way back, as I passed by a muddy country road, I held back. I'd wait until I'd spend a year or two in college before coming up with an excuse. Don't flaunt your wealth. Don't flaunt your wealth. I didn't make a point of finding out what happened to Xia Yanli and Ji Songning afterward, but they're just so famous that I'm always hearing gossip about them from my classmates. Xia Yanli had just finished taking the college entrance exam. He barely managed to get into a second-tier university, but he didn't go to school, nor was he planning to repeat the year. Instead, he went abroad to donate a kidney to Ji Sanning. What a truly heart-wrenching love story. I thought they would stay in the United States, and that I would never see them again in this lifetime. But during my sophomore year, they returned to China. By that time, Xia Yanli was already limping. It seemed he had a very hard time during his days in the United States. No formal education, and no special skills. Once he had spent all the money he had brought with him, he had to earn a living by serving and washing dishes. Ji Songning, however, had already grown accustomed to living beyond his means. He had lost a kidney, and his life was so grueling that his body simply couldn't take it anymore. I'd been in the United States for less than a year when I started taking medication. By this time, Ji Songning's mother had already disappeared without a trace. With no other choice, after struggling to make ends meet for another year, they decided to return home. After returning home, Xia Yanli had originally planned to ask his parents for some financial support, but he discovered that his mother had already given birth to a second child. And she made it clear to him that everything in the family would go to his younger brother. It has nothing to do with him anymore. All these changes happened so quickly. No matter how much Xia Yanli pleaded with his parents, all they ever got was, "You're an adult now. This is the path you chose for yourself, you can't blame us." Ji Songning had originally planned to have them stay at my parents' house, but my parents had already sold the house to pay for her surgery. So, with no other choice, Xia Yanli had to rent an apartment and work part-time to support her. My parents are getting older and have their hands full with their own lives, and the financial support my mom gives me is limited. Gradually, Ji Songning's temper grew increasingly short. She was self-harming more and more often, and she kept asking Xia Yanli if he hated her and if he blamed her. No matter how Xia Yanli tried to explain it, she wouldn't believe him. Xia Yanli, however, was already overwhelmed by the various physically demanding jobs he had to tackle every day. I'm losing patience with her more and more. The conflict came to a head when Xia Yanli finally managed to find a part-time job at a bar. But there she saw Ji Sanning kissing a man. He rushed over and punched the man, but was quickly pinned to the ground by the man's henchman. In the midst of the altercation, someone I don't know who threw a chair at him. His left leg was crushed on the spot. Afterward, the man paid a small amount of money as compensation. Ji Sanning, meanwhile, moved out of their rental apartment right away. As she was leaving, she reproached Xia Yanli, saying, "Yanli, I've run out of options. I feel like I'm dragging you down. This is the only thing I can do. I've let you down in this life, I'll make it up to you in the next." She just walked away without a second thought. All that was left for him was a cluttered, moldy room. He looked at himself in the bathroom mirror and felt so out of place. He was wondering how he had ended up like this. That night, he drank a lot of alcohol, and, emboldened by the alcohol, he asked Ji Sanning to meet up with him. He said he still couldn't let her go and wanted to give her a gift she would never forget. Perhaps Ji Sanning was being too confident. She actually thought Xia Yanli wouldn't hold it against her. I went to the meeting full of enthusiasm. As a result, he threw a bottle of sulfuric acid right in my face. His entire face was almost completely disfigured. After splashing the celebratory drink, Xia Yanli hopped on his motorcycle and sped off. It's ironic that the money to buy the motorcycle actually came from the settlement paid by that man at the bar. He had no set plans and spent the night sleeping under a secluded overpass. I had a beautiful dream that night. He dreamed that he hadn't gone to say goodbye to Ji Sanning and had completely cut off contact with her. He also dreamed that she was with that woman Zhou Zi. In my dreams, she wasn't as sharp-tongued and biting as she is now. She was so gentle. She comforted him and did everything she could to help him. He realized she might have misunderstood him about topping up her meal card, but for some reason, he just couldn't bring himself to say it, because she was just so wonderful in my dream. It wasn't until just before the wedding that Qing Yanchuan came to see him. I gave them a wedding gift, a pair of expensive matching watches. He was clearly very angry, but he couldn't find the right words to describe it. He thought to himself, this definitely isn't a gift for me. He must still be thinking about Zhou Zi. What about Zhou Zi? Does she really like herself? Or was he simply moved by the fact that, when she was down on her luck, he secretly topped up her meal card for her? As he thought about this, he felt increasingly uneasy. He was always getting angry with her over trivial matters, things like who to invite to the wedding and seating arrangements. He kept asking her over and over again why she liked him. As soon as she raised her voice, he immediately interrupted her in a fit of rage, until Ji Sanning arrived. He completely lost it. His hypocrisy was appalling, and he deliberately blamed her for everything. That way, he could convince himself that it wasn't just him deceiving her, she was deceiving herself, too. They are all equally despicable people. He really didn't mean to kill her. That was an accident. When he woke up, Everything had become clear to him. Dreams must be real. Josie has been reborn. But why? Why would she do something like that to herself? Why is she being so picky? He was going to find her and get to the bottom of it. After Ji Songying's face was disfigured, Xia Yanli disappeared. Qing Yanchuan was very anxious for a while. He would come to my apartment every day to pick me up for class and take me home at night. I don't know how to handle my relationship with him, to be honest. I kind of hate how submissive I was towards Xia Yanli in my past life. I keep asking myself, will I ever really fall in love again? Or is it just a sense of gratitude again? I don't want to waste Qing Yanchuan's time and energy either. So I decided to lay my cards on the table and handed him a card. They expressed their gratitude to him. That day, a lingering autumn rain was falling in Beijing, and the streets had a desolate feel to them. He looked like he'd lost a lot of weight recently. After I'd finished my polite, social thanks, he just looked at me in silence. Time seemed to stand still at that moment, until he pushed the card back and said, "Josie, you're overthinking this. I don't need your thanks." Then he got up and left. I sat in my chair, watching his back as he walked farther and farther away, and didn't move for a long time. My heart feels a little heavy, but I can't quite figure out why. I'm already very satisfied with my life as it is, and I don't want anything to change. Time is the most deceptive of all. Little by little, we were all starting to forget about Xia Yanli. Until Christmas Day, there was a heavy snowfall in Beijing. I'm looking for my car in the basement. A hand yanked me into the shadows, and immediately afterward, a handkerchief soaked in a sedative was pressed over my mouth and nose. I quickly held my breath. I hadn't completely lost consciousness, but my whole body felt weak, and my head was spinning. I closed my eyes, not daring to provoke him any further. Then, while he isn't looking, press and hold the volume button that's easiest to reach, pressing it as hard as you can, hoping to turn the volume all the way down. Since my hands were tied, I couldn't see either. Throughout this process, I tried many times to make a phone call, but it didn't work. Just as Xia Yanli was driving and not paying attention, the screen suddenly lit up. I quickly plugged it in, pretending to have just come to her senses. She shouted as loud as she could, "Xia Yanli, where are you taking me? You're awake. Good thing you're awake, otherwise it wouldn't be any fun." Then he didn't say anything, and neither did I. I kept biting the tip of my tongue to stay awake, until Xia Yanli took me to an abandoned factory. I immediately shouted, "This is the Yun family textile factory in Yanjiao. It's been abandoned for ages. Why are you bringing me here?" I turned my body sideways so he wouldn't see my phone's lit screen. What am I supposed to do? Our wedding didn't even happen, did it? You used to say you'd be with me forever. How can you be so heartless? Are you crazy? What are you talking about? I don't get it. You don't get it. So you deliberately made me give up the college entrance exam to go take care of Ji Sanning. Xia Yanli, are you out of your mind? Did I tell you to give up on the college entrance exam? You've got some nerve. Who was the one who called me dozens of times to harass me? Oh, right. I don't think I ever actually told you my exact location or flight details, did I? If it weren't for that post you made back then, would I have? I'm free to post whatever I want. Why don't you blame Pangu for creating the heavens and the earth, allowing people like you to appear in this world after countless lifetimes? I can't win this argument with you right now. But you're even more likable than you were in my last life. Shall we just go through the rest of the process now? As he spoke, he squeezed my neck and pressed the handkerchief soaked in a sedative against my face once more. When I woke up again, Xia Yanli was biting my neck. The sharp pain jolted me awake instantly. He had already dressed me in a white wedding gown. He dragged me up the stairs. I struggled violently, and memories from just before my death in my previous life came flooding back. A wave of intense panic washed over me. For a moment, I even thought about taking him down with me. My hands were tied, so I could only take advantage of his emotional outburst to lunge at him. He was incredibly lucky he didn't roll down the slope, but instead reached out and grabbed me. It was just an accident. but I heard a sharp crack from his ankle. He crouched down, clutched his leg, and let out a few cries of pain. I tried to run away, but he dragged me back. He swung his arm wide and slapped me across the face. All I could hear was a roaring sound in my ears. Everything before my eyes was a blur. Why are you being so naughty? Did that hurt? It really breaks my heart. He cupped my face with feigned tenderness and wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth with his thumb. I took a big bite, using all my strength. My mouth was full of the taste of blood. He kept struggling, but I wouldn't let go. He started elbowing me in the head. I kept biting down hard until he kicked me in the stomach. He kicked me, and I curled up in the corner. When he opened his mouth, a piece of pork skin fell out. Xia Yanli winced in pain. It took him a long time to calm down, but he still didn't seem to have let off steam. He walked over to me, yanked me by the hair, forced me to look at him, and slapped me a few more times. My head was spinning more and more, and eventually I had less and less strength to fight back. He dragged me straight up to the roof. He gripped my neck tightly and said, Let's start over. From now on, let's not hurt each other anymore and live a good life together. Okay. I didn't say anything. I was still trying to struggle. He dragged me step by step to the edge of the roof. I suddenly understood what he was thinking, wanted to jump down with me. That's really crazy and nuts. If I had another chance, I would definitely have killed him right from the start. Just when I had completely lost all hope, Qing Yinchuan's voice suddenly rang out. Xia Yanli, let her go. We're open to discussing all other terms. He looked at Mu Ho was in Xia Yanli's hands with great caution. Haha. You're here too. You actually had the nerve to show up. Qing Yinchuan, the one thing I fucking regret most is becoming your brother. Why the hell did you have to come here and brag about giving her that crappy watch? If you hadn't come, how could I have lost control and treated her like that? How could things between us have ended up like this? Xia Yanli and Ji Songning are truly a perfect match made in heaven. You couldn't find two people more alike. They're always shifting the blame onto others. Qing Yinchuan didn't seem to understand what he was saying, but he chose to go along with him. So I'm the one you hate the most, right? Then I'm the one you should take your revenge on, aren't I? Let her go, and I'll let you take your revenge. Qing Yinchuan. This has nothing to do with you, it doesn't concern you in the slightest. I shouted, losing control. TSK, TSK, TSK. So you two really have fallen for each other. How funny, how funny. He grabbed me with one hand and tossed a dagger over with the other, saying, then stab yourself twice, and I'll think it over. Otherwise, I'll push her off right now. Qing Yinchuan picked up the dagger and glanced at me just once. He stabbed him without hesitation. I felt like my mind had gone completely blank. Tears rolled down my cheeks uncontrollably when the knife struck. His beige sweater was covered in blood. Hurry up and keep going, Xia Yanli urged excitedly. The second blow came down quickly. He could barely stay on his feet and ended up half kneeling on the ground. Seeing how weak he looked, Xia Yanli lunged toward him, gripping his neck. She said, aren't you usually so cocky? Aren't you supposed to be such a big shot? So why are you standing here in front of me now, looking like a half-dead mangy dog? My life is a total mess. Why should you guys have it good? Why? Let's all. Before he could finish speaking, I picked up the dagger from the ground and stabbed him in the lower back. He snapped out of his daze and looked at me in horror. I had managed to break free from the hemp rope that bound me, but at the cost of snapping my left thumb clean off. The sound of a police siren could be heard in the distance. I can't worry about anything else anymore. She stumbled toward Qing Yinchuan. The excruciating pain in my hand seemed to go numb at that moment. I gently helped him to his fei. An, looking at his eyes as they were about to close, shouted, help! Help me! Someone! Please help! I reached out to try to stop the blood flowing from his wound, but the blood gushed out like a river bursting its banks, and in no time at all, it had stained my hands bright red. His eyes were about to close. I cried out to him, Qing Yinchuan, please, I'm begging you, Don't close your eyes. Okay. Hang in there. Please. I'm begging you. Qing Yanchuan. I'm really scared. Qing Yanchuan spent a full 6 hours in the emergency room before he was released. The last time I was that scared was when my grandmother passed away. Fortunately, it all turned out all right in the end. And he managed to pull through. Qinshi came to see us a few times, and she was so scared that tears streamed down her face. I'm feeling fine. Just a few bruises from being hit. And my left thumb is a little sore. I can't really use it very well. On the 3rd day of his hospital stay, he was able to eat some liquid food. I had someone prepare some light congee and send it over. Feed him with one hand. Seeing how clumsy I looked, he couldn't help but say, "Mr. Zhou is so rich, why does he have to do it himself? He could just pay someone to do it." I never would have thought. He's actually so petty. Still remembers that I turned him down a while back. But looking at his pale lips. Even Iho had mastered the yin-yang divine art, could no longer speak the words of yin and yang. I had no choice but to soothe him gently, saying, "How could I possibly feel at ease if someone else were here? If you have any concerns, don't confuse gratitude with romantic feelings. You don't have a boyfriend yet, so be careful that your future boyfriend might take issue with it." That's true. You. He turned his head away and stopped looking at me. I put down my spoon, reached out, and pinched his ear, saying, "So," I asked myself carefully, "how could it possibly be just a sense of gratitude?" It's precisely because I like him so much that I don't dare make a decision lightly. His ear was between my fingertips, gradually turning red and growing warm. He hasn't turned his head yet. I leaned in gently, kissed his ear, and then kissed his chin. He turned to look at me in surprise, and I kissed him on the lips again. "Qing Yanchuan. Thank you. Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for coming to me time and time again." Xia Yanli was convicted on multiple charges and sentenced to exactly 20 years in prison. Apart from Ji Sanning, who went to see him wearing a veil, no one else cared about what became of him. The law will determine the punishment for his crimes. And we must start a new life. Sometimes people shouldn't limit themselves unnecessarily. I have deliberately cut myself off from everything in the past. I don't want to dwell on those bad memories anymore, or let myself become bitter and crazy. I have also referred the follow-up questions regarding my parents to the appropriate agencies. Someone gives them a monthly allowance, and I no longer have direct contact with them, to my surprise. For the first time in my entire life, past and present, I actually received an apology from my mother. She searched frantically for me, and it took her a long time to find out where I was actually attending college. She was eager to see me, but by the time she arrived, Qing Yanchuan and I had already left Beijing. Qing Yanchuan went abroad for further study, so I took the opportunity to manage his business in another country and to enjoy a change of scenery and relax. She reached out to everyone she could think of. She even got in touch with Qin Shi. According to Qin Shi, she found it a bit strange and kept asking her over and over again to confirm whether I was still alive. She said she just wanted to see me once, just once would be enough. I didn't agree. I just asked someone to pass on a message to her. I've already repaid the life that belonged to Mom once. There's no need for us to meet again in this lifetime. I don't know much about what happened afterward. All I know is that she kicked Ji Songning out of the house. She wrote many letters she wanted to send me, but she didn't have my address. It's too late. It doesn't matter anymore. I absolutely will not look back. Perhaps because my emotions were fluctuating so wildly. One night I had a very, very long dream. I dreamed of how Qing Yanchuan went mad after I died in my past life. He kidnapped and imprisoned Xia Yanli. This gentle, mild-mannered scholar picked up a butcher's knife and, stroke by stroke, tortured the man who had tried to kill me until he was in agony, until the police found them. Later, Xia Yanli was sent to prison for manslaughter. Qing Yanchuan was also sentenced to prison for the crime of intentional injury. He attempted suicide many times while in prison, until his mentor found him working on a time machine capable of traveling through time. Only then was he able to find the will to survive. I stayed with him in my dream for a very, very long time. Qing Yanchuan spent a full 20 years on his research, but still failed to achieve success. In his later years, he became fascinated with theology for a time. He began to pray to the gods, asking them to give us a chance. He was at a loss. It wasn't until he was out conducting research that he met an old Taoist priest. The other person told him that accumulating merit brings blessings, and that he could do some meritorious deeds in my name. That way, I'll get good results. And so, he stopped working on the time machine and devoted his time to other research and inventions. He donated all the money he earned from those patents in my name. Just as he was leaving, he seemed to catch sight of me and said, "Josie, I've done everything I could, but it seems there really is no way to undo what's been done in this world." After I woke up from my dream, I looked at the person sleeping soundly beside me. It just feels as if it really was nothing more than a dream. Is he really that stubborn? What's so great about me? Qing Yanchuan would never tell Zhou Zi that he had fallen for her much earlier than she realized. That was right after my father had passed away. Since his family wasn't well off, he went to his grandmother's house in another village to play. As I walked past her yard, I saw that the peaches growing there were big and red. Fearing that if he stayed any longer, people would laugh at him, he hurriedly left. But suddenly, a little girl called out to him, "Hey, you're Grandma Hua's grandson, right? My name is Zhou Zi. Could you pick 2 peaches for me? I'll treat you to them." As soon as he heard that, he was delighted and climbed up the tree to pick a whole bunch for her. She went back into the room, grabbed a few plastic bags, and filled a large bag for him. As I was leaving, however, I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye of a large bowl of bright red peaches sitting in the main room of her house. The peach he ate that day was the best peach he had ever tasted in his life. Later, Grandma became seriously ill, and he and his mother didn't find out until much later. As soon as I walked into the room, I saw some fresh, uneaten food still on Grandma's table. She used to bring them every day when she came to her grandmother's house to visit during winter break. She didn't seem to think it was a big deal. She's always smiling, just like a little son. It wasn't until later that he realized her life wasn't what he had imagined. When I was in high school, my mom's job situation improved significantly, and she took on a part-time job tutoring students, partly to help support the family. On the other hand, for an entire semester, he never once saw her cook any meat dishes. He wanted to know why, but he was afraid of disturbing her. In the end, we had no choice but to go with this approach. He had originally thought he wanted nothing, but when Xia Yanli told her that they both liked each other, he had never been so short-tempered. But can you force yourself to like something? Is he trying to blackmail me into repaying his kindness? She explains things so clearly whenever she goes over a few problems. She always gives out pile after pile of peaches as a thank you. He thought to himself, those peaches from those 2 years were really sour.